After breaking up with my first girlfriend when I was 21, I had been single for about a year. It took some getting used to again, but eventually I decided it was time to get back into the dating scene. I downloaded a bunch of dating apps, and the one I used the most was OkCupid. I matched with a girl named Brenna, and we vibed really well based on her interests and biography. She was a very pretty, light-skinned black girl. We talked for a while and agreed I'd pick her up at her place to get food. I pulled up to her house on the west side of town around 6:30, just after sunset. I texted Brenna, but she took a while to answer. I waited, staring at our conversation, waiting for the texting bubble. When she finally replied, she said, "Hey, sorry about that. My brother's gonna meet you outside. He's being really annoying and protective." I wasn't happy about it, but she insisted. A guy came out of the house and walked toward my car. I got out to meet him. He towered over me, and I noticed his skin was much darker than Brenna's. They didn't even seem related. He introduced himself as Will. He was friendly enough, talking about making sure I was a stand-up guy to take his sister out. After chatting, he invited me inside to meet Brenna. I followed him into the house. He shut the door behind me and said to wait in the living room while he went upstairs to get her. Inside, I noticed two men sitting on the couch, both giving me uncomfortable looks. I greeted them, but only got a slight nod. Will called down that he was trying to find Brenna, which struck me as strange. I looked into the dining room and saw a third man sitting at the table, also staring at me. Instinctively, I stepped back and reached for the door without turning my back to them. One of them screamed, "Grab him!" I flung the door open and ran to my car. They chased me, and I barely made it in before they reached me. They were kicking and hitting my windows as I started the engine and sped off. I made it home and told my parents what happened. They recommended calling the police. I reported the house and what happened. A neighbor anonymously backed up my story after seeing the group attack my car. Police arrested 3 of the 4 men I saw in the house, including Will. The other man was never found. I didn't stop using dating apps after that, but I've been a lot more cautious ever since. At the time of this story, I had already met 3 people through Match.com. It didn't work out with the first 2, and I dated the third for 4 months. After my breakup, I wanted something casual. I matched with a girl named Kylie. She seemed nice enough and agreed to come hang out at my apartment. She arrived about 30 minutes later and was really quiet. We hung out upstairs in my room most of the night, talking with the TV on in the background. There were a lot of awkward silences, and I was constantly wondering if I should try to kiss her. But the longer we talked, the more off she seemed. She became emotionless, spoke slowly, and started talking about deep, dark topics. Then she thanked me for letting her sleep over. I didn't realize she meant literally sleep over. She got off the bed and asked what blanket she could use for the floor. I gave her some blankets and a pillow, and she laid down facing away from me. I turned off the TV and tried to sleep, though it was awkward. Sometime later, I woke up randomly and noticed she wasn't on the floor anymore. I turned on the lamp. She wasn't in the room. Then I heard a voice downstairs. It sounded like Kylie. I quietly left my room and stood at the top of the stairs. The apartment was dark, and I couldn't make out what she was saying. It seemed like she was talking to herself. I went down to check. There she was, sitting in the kitchen, face pacing the wall and muttering to herself. I said her name. She slowly turned to look at me, held her gaze for a few seconds, then turned back to the wall. I ran upstairs, crawled into bed, and called my dad. He didn't answer at first. I called again and again until he finally picked up. I told him what was happening in a quiet panic. He told me to call 911 if it escalated. That's when I noticed a figure standing by my bedroom door. It was Kylie, just the outline of her skinny frame. She stood there silently for 10 seconds, then suddenly charged at me, screaming. She lunged onto my bed and wrapped her hands around my throat, trying to choke me. I managed to overpower her, pin her down, and drag her downstairs. I screamed at my dad to call the cops. When they arrived, they took her into custody. I had to fill out some documents afterward. I think it's safe to say, always meet people from dating apps in public first. I've been single most of my life, though I've used apps like Tinder and Badoo just for fun. I've met some weird people, but nothing prepared me for what happened in February 2014. It was winter, and I was using Badoo a lot, messaging 5 or 6 people at a time, because most conversations go nowhere. One conversation stood out, a girl named Maria. Every time I got a notification from her, I actually felt excited. One night, I asked if she was down to hang out. She said yes and asked for my address. I gave it without hesitation and asked for her number. No response. Then she went offline. I waited, checking the app frequently, but she stayed offline. Eventually, I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up at 6:30 a.m. It was rainy and still dark. I checked my phone. I had messages from Maria. "Hey, I'm coming now. I'm here. I'm watching you." The last one said, "How'd you sleep?" I froze. I rushed to the window and looked outside. Nothing. I shut the blinds. I messaged, "Who the hell is this?" Seconds later, she replied, "Check your closet and find out." I turned to look at the closet across the room. I know I shut it the night before. Now it was slightly open. My heart was pounding. Then the door creaked open more. I screamed for my dad, forgetting he was out of town. My older brother came rushing in after hearing me. I told him everything, and we checked the closet together. Nothing. No one was there. Then I realized the window was unlocked. I had left it open the night before. I went to the police with the messages, but apparently I needed a court order to get the user's info from Badoo. I didn't pursue it legally. Luckily, nothing ever happened after that. But I never leave my window unlocked anymore.